The MLS Power Rankings are in for the week. Alejandro Moreno joins me to break them all down, to see where the team went right and wrong. It's always a pleasure to be with you, Ali. Taking a look at the top 10 this week for MLS, the left-hand side of our screen here paints a rather familiar picture with the standings in the West. LAFC there leading out Seattle and the Galaxy beyond them. Houston, of course, enjoying a good season so far. The Eastern leaders, DC United, only in at 5th place. Let's start, though, on the right-hand side.
Okay. What do you want to talk about? About Toronto.
Toronto, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Toronto is a team that went to Seattle, actually played pretty well, and they could make the argument that if the game had gone 5 minutes longer, they would have found an equalizer because of the way that they played, the chances they created. Stefan Fry had to come up with save. In the end, Seattle was a little bit hanging on at home. So if you take Toronto from where they were prior to the season and losing out to Independiente de la Chorrera in Panama in CONCACAF Champions League, and you might have thought, my goodness, the roof is about to cave in because of the disappointment that you had last year, and then this was the start of the year, you might have thought, man, there's some nervous people in Toronto. And the truth is that Greg Vanney, his staff, the players, they have come together. Alejandro Pozuelo, who's been brought into this team, has made a tremendous difference. And even though that they lost away from home against the Seattle Sounders, I think the performance was an encouraging one for them. And I think Toronto FC is going to be there or thereabouts in the Eastern Conference, near the very top. In the long run, I find them to be a stronger team than even DC United is right now.
Okay, so we've got some other teams filling out that as well. Columbus. Let's talk about them.
Yeah, Columbus Crew is just consistent. You're just getting performance after performance, result after result, and they're not talked about a lot, kind of flying under the radar. People minding their business about some other teams and some other players, while Caleb Porter and his group continue to play well, continue to be solid in the way that they're defending, continue to be creative with Higuain. It seems to be the same story year after year with this version of the Columbus Crew. And they just continue to be a team that is going to be certainly one of the main teams looking, if you portray what the playoffs are going to look like. Columbus seemed to be in that picture every time. And there's nothing that we have seen early on in the season that would suggest they're not going to be there at the end of the season.
It's a good competition in the West this year, isn't it? And with LAFC's dominant performances, well, they're 4 wins in a row now. I know Galaxy are not too far behind and sandwiched between is Seattle. But do you see those sides racing away from the rest over the course of the whole regular season?
I can tell you that, for me, LAFC is in one category, and everybody else is in a different category altogether. I can see some of the flaws for the LA Galaxy, and yet they've been able to overcome those flaws. They're defending a little bit better. Guillermo Barros-Esqueloto has a team organized, and you have Zlatan scoring goals. His presence in the attack allows them to put balls into the box, and he's gonna go get those goals. He's gonna go get the penalties. He's gonna draw fouls. He's gonna create for himself and from others, and just the attraction that he brings, all the people that are just paying attention to him, is gonna leave other players open. And if those other players become even more productive, then the LA Galaxy become even more dangerous. The Seattle Sounders, it's an old story. There's nothing about them that surprises me. I just see a team that is solid, that is well built, well put together. Will Bruin is scoring goals. If you have that going for you, then that's tremendous for the Seattle Sounders. And then you add the fact that Jordan Morris has also had a good start of the season. He's come back well from his knee injury. Everything about the Seattle Sounders is just solid. But when you talk about LAFC, it's not just solid, it's spectacular. What you're getting from Carlos Vela is a spectacular season. He's leading MLS in both goals and assists, 8 goals, 5 assists. He's having an MVP type season, and he continues to be weekend after weekend. And you don't see LAFC coming back to the crowd. Last week they went to DC and destroyed DC United when DC United had been playing very well. It didn't matter. LAFC showed up. They played the way they wanted to play, with the performance of Carlos Vela, and then the performance of Diego Rossi, and behind them having a team that again is well structured and well put together and can defend. But when they have the ball, their ability to just spread out and have a lot of passing and movement and being able to create in the final third, and always knowing, and this is key, always knowing that, okay, we can pass the ball around if we want to, but we also know that Carlos Vela is out there. And we know that even if we're in trouble, this guy is having this sort of year that out of nothing, he's going to create something for himself, for somebody else. Somebody else may score the game winner, but it's always going to be about Carlos Vela. He's having that type of year. And so, again, LAFC, right now, I find them to be in a class of their own, and then the rest of the league. As it pertains to the rest of the league, you have to look at the Seattle Sounders and the LA Galaxy as being the strongest teams. Okay,
so just finishing up then in the East, it's a very different picture, isn't it? DC United are not going to have as comfortable a time defending that perch at the moment as, say, LAFC in the West.
Yeah, and DC United, I like DC United, and I like what Wayne Rooney brings to this team, and even though he got himself thrown out a week ago. But I find that this is a team that Ben Olsen has done very well in putting the group in a place and in a position that they understand what they do in and around Wayne Rooney. They're going to be good. I don't think that they're going to be at the top of the Eastern Conference. As I said earlier, I think Toronto is better suited for that. But the Eastern Conference is wide open. It really is. All it takes is for one of these teams to get on a good run. And let's not forget, we're a month and a half into the season. So we're going to see a lot of what these teams become in the middle of summer. Yeah. And that's usually when you find that separation where the good teams start getting results weekend after weekend, and the not so good teams, the teams that don't have the depth, the teams that don't have quite the talent or the talent personnel available, those teams start drifting towards the pack and towards the back of the pack. Right now, we're sort of bunched together. Nobody has really separated themselves in the Eastern Conference, quite like LAFC has in the Western Conference. But I do think there's an opportunity for Columbus to take that jump, for Toronto to take that jump, DC to take that jump, and then the rest of those groups, the rest of those teams is like, good luck. You don't know what Orlando's going to be, and Montreal, who knows? And you start looking up and down the Eastern Conference, and you say, man, there's an opportunity here for somebody to truly take a hold of the conference, because nobody has really stepped forward and done that just yet.